Welcome to our viewers once again from dialing in from India and from the Netherlands predominantly via Facebook and YouTube. Today is the National Pollution Control Day, which is celebrated to remember the victims of the Bhopal gas tragedy. So in remembrance of those people who have lost their lives during the Bhopal gas tragedy, let us maintain 30 seconds of silence before we kick off. Thank you very much. To celebrate the day, we thought the best way will be to get together few people who, through their thoughts and actions, have been contributing towards making this world a better and a livable place for all of us. So today, as we are in the middle of this pandemic, Corona or COVID-19, it doesn't need more highlighting for any one of us to understand how our actions can lead to destruction of our lives and our economy and the planet we are living in. The situation that we are in the middle of today reminds us that we need to be mindful of our actions if we have to secure a better future for our next generations. So today in this session, we'll be listening and we'll be interacting with 5 such people who comes from different walks of life, but who have contributed towards making this life, this planet, a better and a livable place. So first of all, since we are already delayed, I would straightway jump to the discussions. And I first of all like to invite Ms. Prarthana Borah, who is the country director of the Clean Air Asia Initiative, and she's the country director in India. The Clean Air Asia organization is playing a very crucial role in finding out and reporting back some of the environmental criteria and performances based on which the government of India is taking actions and shaping policies to improve the air quality. Prarthana, may I now invite you to unmute yourself and to share your thoughts in connection with our interaction today. If you can share what you had been doing, what your organization had been doing, and what your plans are, and what you want all of us to do to support your initiative and to make this planet a more livable planet. Over to you, Prarthana. Can you?
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. And it's a great pleasure to be part of this great gathering. I think it's, practically speaking, if you think about air pollution, it requires the kind of partnership that is presented on my screen. We have corporate engagement, we have the Netherlands Embassy, and we have policy. And of course, we have, Bikes, an organization like Bikes, which is actually promoting an initiative which we consider towards air pollution mitigation. So thank you very much to the Netherlands Embassy and to Dr. Bhairavi for inviting me to speak at this session. I'll start with some facts. I think we all know, what air pollution is doing to us, and if you see the figures now with the pandemic, there is also a discussion in terms of how air pollution is aggravating or contributing to increased morbidity as far as COVID is concerned. So the latest report by the Global State of the Air report, which is taken out by the Health Effects Institute, reported that there was 6.6 million deaths due to air pollution all over the world, and out of this 1.1 million was in India. So I think we should all be concerned that morbidity rates due to air pollution is in the increase, and it is a serious matter that we need to take into consideration. The second aspect is the contribution of transport world over contribution of road transport to air pollution deaths, is also increasing. About 79,000 deaths due to vehicular emissions every year in Europe. And this is a number that is this is a number that it's not going, not reducing, but it's actually on the increase. The contribution of transport to basically vehicular emissions in terms of the source, as far as India is concerned, is third in category, which means that we are still lucky from the perspective of the fact that vehicles is not the major or the most attributed source of air pollution. But this is because I think the fact is that the people to vehicle ratio is still less. But again, we have to be concerned because this is a number that is again increasing, and there's a need to look at vehicular emissions as a large contributing factor to transport. In terms of scientific data, it's NOx, which is the primary contributor as far as air pollution is concerned when you look at vehicular emissions, and NOx is primarily responsible for respiratory diseases. It's now attributed even to mental health and issues like that. The other concern is that NOx emissions leads to the production of secondary pollutants like ozone. Ozone is also a climate pollutant, so we need to be looking at it not just from the perspective of air pollution, but also in terms of aggravated climate disaster when we are looking at vehicular emissions. So as Amlan said, I mean, what is our work in terms of addressing air pollution in the country? And from the perspective of the work done, I would like to just, because we have in the paucity of time, I would just like to point out to 3 or 4 areas that we can all work together and contribute. Firstly, non-motorized transport is one of the best air pollution mitigation measures. It is also one that requires little structural change and economically most viable, because it is about shifting behavior from a particular mode of transport to another one. So it is considered world over that whenever you talk about air pollution solutions, I think non-motorized transport, and by non-motorized transport, I mean walking and cycling, is a large it can become a large contributor as air pollution solution is concerned. So that is my first argument, and I think the focus on cycling as a mode of transport definitely needs to increase in the country. And the opportunity lies in the fact that it's not new to India. If you look at it, 50% of India uses non-motorized transport, and cycling is not actually something that is a privilege. It is actually something that is very much a part of life in rural India and in small town India. Now, the question is, how do we retain that interest and how do we build on that interest? So I think that is one of the best ways to look at an entry point, and that would probably also help us in retaining the clean air in these cities. So if you look at the problem of air pollution, when you name the cities, you would see it is the larger cities which are sprawling, which have higher levels of air pollution compared to much of rural India or the smaller cities. So I think one of the things is, how do you link this, in terms of increasing the contribution of cycling as a mode of transport to retaining the clean air in these cities. Second, COVID provided us with a huge opportunity from cycling being something of a leisure and a sport can now become a mobility vehicle in terms of utility. So how do we mobilize on this? Because after post-COVID, we are working from home, so our necessity to travel long distances reduced. So obviously distances will reduce. We don't need to go out as much. And secondly, because we are paranoid about the whole issue of social contact, there is tremendous scope, because cycling is an independent mode of transport and gives you the capacity to move from a place to place in a manner that is really going to keep you safe. So I think that's one area that is really going to be an opportunity for from perspective of reducing air pollution, as well as encouraging cycling as a mode of transport. The third is, cycling makes economic sense. A study by Terry revealed that if we do shift to non-motorized transport or adapt cycling as a mode of transport, there would be a 1.8 trillion rupees growth to the GDP, and this is in terms of fuel savings. It is in terms of contribution to personal health growth, and in terms of reducing the deaths due to man hours, and of course improving air pollution. So I think cycling definitely needs to be an investment as far as cities are concerned. So for us as an organization, how do we're looking at promoting cycling in terms of contributing to better air through looking at structural development in cities. So there are already programs like the Cycle for Change program within the Smart City Mission. There is also recently introduced air quality indicators which assess transport mobility in the cities, which we've been part of, and we look at promoting cycling from that aspect. The other is, how do we look at cycling from the perspective of informing public and engaging public in terms of contributing to clean air action by shifting to non-motorized transport, especially cycling as a mode of transport. So thank you very much. I'd love to listen to others too.
Thank you, Prarthana. Thank you for so nicely connecting air pollution or controlling air pollution to a sustainable mobility, which is cycling, and that actually fits very well to today's theme of a discussion. Since you have made a connection already, I would like to now invite Mr. Pankaj Munjal. We're very lucky to have you here, sir, today with us, in spite of a very busy schedule. But being the passionate person you are, and if you look back to the last few decades, and then if anyone talks of cycling, I mean, who is a bigger contributor to this industry and to this cycling as an activity, then probably you as a person, but also as your company. So very much would like to hear from you about a journey so far, some few observations which we probably haven't heard about so far. And also connecting to COVID, what do you observe pre-COVID and post-COVID? Do you see some positive change when it comes to cycling and adopting cycling as a mobility? Mr. Munjal, over to you, please.
Hello, everybody. So, Ms. Prarthana and Ms. Joshi, where were you earlier? Your talk was so inspiring, and these words are music to my ears, and we really need you. I can see Nidhi over here, Gaurav from London, so please grab these lovely girls and make their voice go further, louder, and make it visible. So thanks very much for the chance. In fact, it's my opportunity to be sitting here and spending time with you. So it's really a subject that I love. I'm not just that I'm born in this family, but I thought clean air was free. I was born thinking clean air was free, but it's not. Now we have to have a cleaning system at home and go into different places. Yes, this pandemic has changed our world forever, but certain sectors seem to be getting accelerated growth. I can't use this word accelerated, I can say surge. It is very, very high. We can't really catch up with the demand. Earlier, city administrations, they had planned, public transports to address congestion, make this commute affordable, ease the congestion. But now street space is short. And this has altered our way that how people will commute and are doing so. This pandemic has changed this pattern forever because the roads got emptied in the curfew time and they got filled in naturally with fresh air, people. The cities are not made for trucks and buses, they're made for people, walking, cycling as a natural phenomenon. Apple and Google, they've done some study and they have shared that 40% of the transport is yet lower since the pre-virus times. So public transport is under threat. It's better to be going independent and it's safer than wearing a mask than to go on a cycle or a motorcycle or car. And we find clearly, specifically in the big cities of London, Milan, Amsterdam, New York, that there's a shift from cars to car hubs, hailing taxis, and other forms of transport. With the tightening regulations and a congestion charge in the big cities, then emission norms getting tighter, car ownership will turn more expensive. So the future of the cities is not going to be only car-free or the less dirty internal combustion engine, but it will be a lot more about cycling and e-cycling. So, Excellency, Mr. Berg is sitting here. Amsterdam, Netherlands is a center of gravity for cycles. Water flows from the top, they say. When our Prime Minister goes there, then he's presented a cycle. I kept looking what badge it was. So, Excellency, we need some support. We want to do investments in your country, and we need to meet the right kind of partners. And we would like definitely to be there. In the mid-June, July of this year, there was a surge in cycle and our shortage went to 6 weeks. We were 6 weeks behind. Hero makes 5% of the world production, and we make 5 million cycles, and we are taking up now the production to 10. So I was late today. I thought I was late, but then it was okay. I went to another factory of ours that we're building up. It's called a Cycle Valley. It's Valley means there's a factory, there's supplier base, then there's testing, certification, R&D labs, then university. So all that whole epicenter is coming up. It will be in the world map for sure. In our field, e-bike is the new contender. You can go further with less effort. And the elderly people also enjoy this mode. And I read somewhere that the mental motor, physical motor, they are both connected. So this is really going to help the nation socially. Another point that you mentioned was, and which is a big one, that 1/5 of the car journeys in the large cities are less than 1 mile. You don't need a car for that. You don't need to crawl for a parking space over there. You don't need to burn fuel looking for that. So even in India, 80% of the rides that take place are less than 7 kilometers. So e-bike, a cycle is the way forward. So it was not safe. And in fact, I want to make more notes than talk, because I really want to do something after this talk, plan a next step, a goal, like a roadmap, milestones we need to cover. So I've got a suggestion. I would love to be a part. Just give me a shout and I'll be there in whatever way. But I propose that this team that we have here should meet the PMO. They are listening. They're listening very well. So Amitabh Kant is one person that you should all meet. I can help organize the meeting. Nidhi is over here. She can help with that. Piyush Goyal. He's again a game changer, good listener. They want to do something. We're discussing like a battery localization project over here for the E-Valley. So you should make these points, graphically with data that what to do, what are the investments, what are the returns, like that kind of data if you show. Supreme Court Chief Justice, Mr. Bobde, he also wants to hear, and he's got power. His signature means law. So we should together work with them and take this beautiful thought that you have, convert this thought into real on the road that we can do. So let's all get together and change the way the cities look like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Munjal. Really, I mean, your passion comes out so clearly through your words, or through your actions, but also through your words. And the last part of what you say, indeed, that is basically the essence of grouping together in a platform like this. Because all of us have been contributing to a journey towards a sustainable journey. But if we can combine our forces, nothing more than that. And today, also for me personally, to bring you all together in this platform and for others worldwide to listen to you is also inspire others so that they can also continue and join in this journey together with you and with us. And we can also join in their journey so that it becomes a revolution towards a better world. Thanks once again. Also, thank you very much for making the nice connection to the Netherlands. Maybe I have a small personal story to share here. My first day in the Netherlands as a young employee of Philips, and I was lucky to have a meeting with the CEO of Philips on the very first day. It was Mr. Gerard Kleisterlee in those days. So I was waiting in a restaurant in Amsterdam together with another of our young managers, and suddenly a person came in a bike and introduced Gerard with his first name. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that the CEO of a top MNC would just come biking. After listening to him for about an hour interacting, he asked us, do you have any question for me? So my question was, why do you bike? Why don't you drive a car? And he said, I think it is a luxury for me to be able to move around in a bike. My perspective changed from that moment onwards. Today, we are lucky to have the ambassador of the Netherlands to India, His Excellency Marten van der Berg. So talking about Netherlands is the right moment, I think, for me to invite the ambassador to share his thoughts. The ambassador, since he has taken over this role in India, had been very passionately driving the partnerships between India and Netherlands on the platform of the SDGs, so that our cooperation, our working together is long-lasting, and long-lasting in a perspective of that together these two countries can drive a societal change which will inspire others and which will inspire the generations in these two countries. So Ambassador, would you be so kind to share your views and thoughts of how you see the future, what things needs to be done, and to build on what Mr. Munjal and Prarthana expressed through their words. I still need to unmute, I think. Oh, this is, I don't know why this happened, but can you unmute yours?
Yes, I think I'm unmuted. You can hear me? Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Amlan, and it's really a pleasure and an honor to join this platform debate on cycling. As you said about the CEO of Philips, I think it's always a lot of people from abroad always very surprised that also our Prime Minister is always biking to his work from his office to his home, and that he's well, free to do so. And I think if you look to pictures of our, the most famous pictures of the Netherlands, and especially when we have world leaders visiting the Netherlands, the most famous pictures are always pictures of world leaders on a bike, whether it's the US President or Prime Minister Modi. I think it's always nice to see them biking around in the Netherlands. So it's really a pleasure to join this discussion. I think, as was said earlier by others, we are in a very special time. Pandemic is really changing our lives, but it also, I think, very much illustrates how vulnerable we all are, how vulnerable our planet is today. So I think it's also for me and for a lot of people and for our societies maybe kind of a wake-up call. We do face enormous challenges, whether it's on agriculture, in water, in health, in climate. And I think it's quite clear that we really do have to change our way of living. And we really need to go to sustainable production and consumption patterns. And that is why we all agreed on the SDGs, on the SDG agenda globally. But it is also very much something, as Amlan also explained, the core of the relationship between the Netherlands and India. Both our countries are extremely committed to the SDGs. We are both working together on those SDGs. And personally, I very much think that there is also no trade-off between, on the one hand, economic growth, and the other hand, sustainability and inclusiveness. As we have seen also during the pandemic, there is no trade-off between economic growth and saving lives. It's working on saving lives is working on economic growth. So, and I think it's the same thing with sustainability and inclusiveness. It's really very much the same agenda. So working on the SDGs is also very much working on growth and on jobs. For me, the SDG agenda is very inspiring. It's very inspiring to work together in Indian context with India, between the Netherlands and India, on those goals of society, because I really believe in it. And I really believe that we need to change our way of acting, and we really need to change our way of production and our way of consumption. Air pollution, very much also related to climate. I think India and the Netherlands also both very much committed to the Paris Agreement. Of course, climate action also part of the SDGs. And I think we are living in a very promising time in terms of climate change. Of course, we see the figures on climate change, and I think we need to win the race against climate change. But on the other hand, you see very promising developments, whether it's for the first time that renewable energy is cheaper than energy from fossil fuels. You see the change in in mobility, the change in industrial patterns. So I think it's very much a promising agenda as well. If you look to the agenda between the Netherlands and India, as it was said, the SDGs are very much core to our relationship. We are working very much on health issues, on energy and climate issues, on water issues, on the agricultural sector. And why did we choose those SDGs as the core of our relationship? Because we think that on these SDGs, on these challenges, in our collaboration, we have something to offer to each other, but also something to offer to the world. And you can see good results, promising results on those areas where we work together, whether it's in cleaning rivers, cleaning the Ganga, whether it's on digital health, bringing health to the remote areas, whether it's on water sanitation, on climate goals. And it's also working very much together between the private sector and the government, between the private sector, the government and technology institutions. We really have to work together. And it's about SDG 17, it's about public-private partnerships, and that's where we have to work together. And I think I see a very, very promising agenda. Last year we had our state visit, our King and Queen visited India, and the whole visit was focused on these SDGs, where you see joint research, companies working together. And what I really enjoy about the India-Dutch relationship, that is so much a two-way street. As you know, there are a lot of Dutch companies and technology institutions working in India already for a very, very long time, but also a lot of Indian companies and Indian institutes being represented in the Netherlands already for a long time. So it's really, we have big footprints in both of our countries. And I think that is promising, and it's very much inspiring. Today is about a cycling event and about how to promote cycling. And of course, if you talk about cycling, I think you talk about the Netherlands. As was said earlier, if you go to the larger cities in the Netherlands, with even the smaller villages, everybody is using a bike. Also myself, when I went to school, on a bike. When I went to my work, on a bike. When I brought my children to their schools or children care, on a bike, sometimes with 2-3 children and myself on just one bike. So biking, cycling is in our DNA. And I think it's a wonderful part of our DNA. And it's was said earlier, it's nice and it's a privilege to be able to use a bike so often in your daily life. But I have to admit, biking in the Netherlands is easier than in India. I mean, we are a flat country. The weather is relatively favorable for biking around. But on the other hand, we have invested heavily in creating our cycling infrastructure. And as was said earlier about getting people out of the cars on a bike is also changing behavior. And that also requires all kinds of incentives to get people on a bike. But in the Netherlands, I think we are very, very successful in it. And we are very happy to share all our experience on a bike, how to construct, how to create an infrastructure for cycling, because I think that is very, very important. If you go to Dutch cities, you see a real cycling infrastructure all over the place. And I think that is very important. That's also what we have learned in our past. You need a cycling infrastructure to get people on a bike. I think there's also maybe in India kind of a chicken and egg problem. On the one hand, you need people to bike to improve your air quality. On the other hand, you need clean air to get people on a bike. So there's something you have to deal with. But let me share a few interesting facts about cycling in the Netherlands and cycling in the Netherlands with India. We do have, for example, a MOU signed in 2017 between the CWI Amsterdam and CEP University Ahmedabad about developing models to set up a cycling infrastructure in Gujarat and India. We can, of course, share our expertise, consulting support in setting up an infrastructure for cycling. The Dutch companies are very much willing to explore the Indian market as and more people are seem to be switching from cars or other modes of transport to cycling. I think I agree. If you said earlier also, cycling is not something new to India. There are many areas in India where you see already people using a bike as a mode of transport. But I think in cities you see an increasing development to use a bike as a mode of transport. And of course, the Netherlands is more than welcoming famous and top companies to the Netherlands, like Hero Cycles, to explore also the Western market through the Netherlands, to the European market, to the Netherlands. As I said, cycling is very much in my DNA. Unfortunately, I do not do a lot of cycling in Delhi. I'm now for more than 2 years the ambassador to India, which has been and still is a wonderful experience. But cycling is not part of that experience so far. But I do see a lot of new initiatives also in Delhi, and I think there's a very promising development going on to increase cycling also as a mode of transport in India. To conclude, I think it's a very promising also development in India. I always tell people it's also fun to cycle, it's healthy to cycle. So there are so many advantages to take the bike instead of a car. So I see a lot of promising developments in India taking place, and I think the Netherlands is very, very happy to share their expertise with India, but also vice versa, to learn from Indian expertise and experiences in the Netherlands. And together, I think we can make big steps in improving cycling all over the world. So it's a very important moment also for this MOU. I think this MOU is important to increase our bilateral collaboration, and looking very much forward also as an ambassador to support cycling in India. Thank you so much.
Ambassador, thank you very much for your expressing your thoughts and for sharing some very interesting things about cycling and Netherlands indeed, which is quite interesting for our listeners in India, I'm sure. With that, actually, I'd like to make use of this opportunity to declare a new MOU, which has recently been signed between the City of Surat and the Dutch organization called BYCS. Before I ask yourself, Ambassador, and the Municipal Commissioner of Surat, Mr. Pani, to release the MOU, I'd like to highlight the relationship between Surat and Netherlands. If we talk about city-to-city relationship, probably no city in India has a better direct relationship with any other city or province in the Netherlands than Surat. Surat and Netherlands, even though they're not officially partner cities or sister cities, but over the last 4 or 5 years have been consistently developing the partnerships between them. Of course, this partnership has already also been helped by both cities being part of the 100 Resilient Cities program. But the relationship doesn't stop there. There is a relationship between the Chambers of Commerce of Surat and our Chambers of Commerce in Rotterdam. There had been visits between experts from Rotterdam to Surat and from Surat to Rotterdam, exploring different areas like water management, waste management. And recently, as part of this ongoing partnership and ongoing journey, this MOU was signed. I would like to now request the Commissioner of Surat Municipal Corporation, Mr. Pani, and the Ambassador to digitally and verbally announce the release of this MOU, so that this MOU from now onwards would then step into the action mode and we'll take it forward. BYCS to take the lead.
So,
So, okay.
I don't have it with me.
Yeah, that is a
I
nice
think it
way
would be
of
inspiring
releasing.
to get people on the bike.
Yeah.
But
Thank you, Mr. Pani. We'll hear a bit more about what the MOU entails in a while from the CEO of Bikes India, Dr. Bhairavi Joshi. But first, I'd like to invite you, Mr. Pani, to share your thoughts about how the city of Surat is kind of transitioning itself to one of the most sustainable and clean cities in India through various actions, and also reflect on how you see the Dutch-India collaboration progressing further into more areas where we can work together for sustainable growth in the coming period. Please, Mr. Pani.
thank you very much, Amlan. Today on this great day of National Pollution Control Day, we are really happy that I'm a part of this endeavor between SMC, Bikes, Clean Air Asia, and all the organizations involved. In fact, as I was listening to His Excellency Marten and Pankaj ji, Prarthana ji, I was really perplexed as to why cycling is not promoted in cities. In fact, when you visit villages, when I visit my village, then we are, we have clean space, clean air, and we can do cycling as much as we can. But unfortunately, in the cities, when we see, we don't really get that kind of an atmosphere. And when we see the kind of situation that we are in, now it is right time. COVID-19 gives a lot of opportunity for us to reflect as to what we can do immediately to promote cycling in Indian cities. In fact, under the Smart City India, Government of India has floated the Cycle for Change challenge already. In fact, this is undertaken in major cities of the country. Surat city has taken a lot of, for cycling, there are two things. One is the clean air, as all of us know. And the second is very important, is the good infrastructure for cycling. Because if you do cycling, then there is a possibility that you are taking life at risk. So that kind of a situation sometimes emerge. So you have to have good infrastructure and clean air. So clean air will attract and good infrastructure will support cycling. In our cities, in fact, Surat has taken a lot of initiatives as far as cycling is concerned. We have almost more than 32 kilometers of cycling infrastructure already ready, and some of it is under planning, and some of it is under execution. But overall, if we see the kind of infrastructure, that is still, it is not so satisfactory that we think it should be. But yes, we have taken a collaborative approach and people are supporting it. One of the example is one of the bank in Surat city has asked its people to come by cycling. So there are many people who are coming by cycling also to banks and other institutions. So that is one industry here also has come forward to facilitate cycling. In this COVID-19 kind of a situation, I have seen that many cycle shops have emerged, new cycle shops in poshest areas of the city. That is a news, that is a visual treat to all of us, because in this kind of a situation, people have taken cycling as, if you see in the morning in Surat, then you cannot even imagine so many people are interested for cycling. And COVID-19 has given that, despite being a pandemic, it has as His Excellency Marten has said, that it is a wake-up call and a great opportunity for all of us. It is a challenge as well as an opportunity, and all of us have to take that opportunity, take that challenge. And I have been a commissioner in 2 cities, And I have found that in some of the cities, absolutely sometimes cyclists, if I go in cycling, then sometimes it is even difficult to ply that cycle unless you have some support system. So to cater to and to adhere to a good cycling infrastructure, good cycling environment, particularly the cities have to work hard. And Surat has taken this opportunity of having an MOU with bikes, and will strive our best as far as whether it is urban planning, whether it is urban infrastructure, whether it is cycling infrastructure, and a collaborative approach with all public, private, and other non-governmental organizations. Everything will be done to support cycling, and we are really very happy to be a part of this occasion. Thank you very much.
It's quite nice to hear, quite assuring to hear your commitment for cycling, Mr. Pani, in the city of Surat. And this is exactly, this kind of inspiration is what exactly every city in India needs, indeed, especially in the present times, to make our future more sustainable. Now, being mindful of the time as well, I would like to ask Bhairavi Joshi to share with us a little bit about the MOU and about what your activities as Bikes India, what you're planning in the ensuing period in Surat, but also more broadly in India. Over to you, Bhairavi.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amlan. First of all, like heartfelt gratitude to His Excellency Surat Commissioner Mr. Pani, Prarthana ji and Pankaj ji for joining us over here for this beautiful day. Just as Mr. Amlan shared his memory, the Pollution Control Day has really played an important role. 2 years back, I started with a cycling curriculum in a small town called Valsad, and then from that the journey towards cycling has taken place. So when His Excellency shared about having cycling in his DNA, this is what we have to initiate in our children and in the future generations. Cycling has to be in the DNA of everyone. Sharing more about Bikes, which is an Amsterdam-based NGO. Like Bikes India is a decentralization initiative of Bikes, which is an Amsterdam-based social enterprise that is driven by the belief that bicycles transform cities and cities transform the world. India's cities are on the front line dealing with an array of complex challenges which has arisen from growing rates of urbanization, population motorization, and wealth disparity. These challenges represent a vast opportunity for all of us to think innovatively and to seek collaborative solutions that increase cycling adoption to empower people and improve the health of the planet. Bikes, we believe that when people choose the bicycle for everyday life, it can have a transformational effect, and that this simple tool, it holds the key to improved well-being and prosperity for citizens, the city and the planet as well. So we have a very clear and powerful mission and vision of 50 by 30, that is half of the city trips by bicycle by 2030, which demands the brightest ideas and the most determined action, and we believe that it will unlock massive social, environmental and economic gains for everyone. Bikes offers a rapid transformation process to those cities that are ready to make the shift, called the MakeWay 30-day program. Bikes, along with the partners, have developed a process of consisting of proven interventions which accelerates the shift from car-centric to human-centric cities, triggering equitable economic, social and health benefits. Looking at the pandemic right over here, like cities across the globe have been shifting towards walking and cycling. Some cities are already proposing like prospering like Amsterdam and Copenhagen. Some have already planned major shifts and now are accelerating like Paris and Milan. But yet many cities in countries like India, they're still wondering how to start, what to do first, how to imagine their cities differently. So here Bikes will help with their MakeWay 30-day program. Cycling already delivers 550 billion euro of economic benefits in Europe every year, and the European Cycling Federation has estimated that with good policies in place, that number can increase to 760 billion euro by 2030. So improving traveling conditions, creating more walkable and bike-friendly cities is proving to be highly efficient as a COVID-19 response to urban mobility. The city of Surat, as mentioned, is already engaging in various activities to develop cycling and combat COVID-19. These programs must continue as a part of Cycle for Change. Thanks, Surat Commissioner and Mr. Rajesh Pandya, for having me there with you with the Cycle for Change program. There are many initiatives which have been done under the Cycle for Change, and to accelerate those and to bring a grand transformation in the city of Surat. In addition to what is already happening citywide, the pilot of MakeWay 30-day will shed light on what is possible when bicycles and therefore humans are put first in a neighborhood. It allows people, decision makers and citizens alike to experience a possible future with their very own senses by combining temporary infrastructure solutions with focused civil and local business engagement, activation, community-led development. A small portion of the city will be able to very rapidly experience what cycling offers and how it positively changes an environment. Without traditional overhead and timelines, a portion of Surat is able to experience what it is to be like a cycling city, a future-focused city committed to raising quality of life for all citizens. And then the whole program would be scaled over to the entire city gradually. So as it is mentioned that alone we cannot, alone we can do so little. It's very impossible to do things alone. And collaborative efforts like together, as Mr. Munjal shared that everyone present here can collaboratively come together and share a common vision and work towards building Surat a cycling city. This initiative will be started in Surat, and then we want to move over to other cities of India. Bikes has a network of 43 bicycle mayors across India and 200 bicycle mayors across the globe, working towards getting policymakers, government and the citizens and the cycling communities together on a single platform to build a city cycle friendly. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone present here for sharing such wonderful thoughts. And we look forward to a cycling city in Surat itself within a couple of years. Thank you, Amlan.
Thank you, Bhairavi. I think with that we can say that the next meeting between us to be physically in Surat on bicycles, and we look forward to that. Thanks to 5 of you, very passionate individuals, for sharing your time. Apologies for the technical glitch and that leading to the delay. I just realized that the video streaming could not happen, but the voices could be heard by the listeners. What I'll do is definitely share the video because I have made a recording and share it in all the digital channels, including yours. And thanks once again. And we look forward to meeting up again like this, like in the words of Mr. Munjal, and let us together drive our activities further for a more sustainable and resilient future. Thank you and have a good day.